Hello and welcome back. So I hope everyone's managed to get himself a quick cup of tea and is ready for the next session. Today, with this one, we have the rise of visual content and how to get it right. So I am joined by Sam Brownjohn, visual content manager, and Naomi Jones, communications and marketing director of Suez. A quick little bit about them. So Sam works on every step of the in-house video content. So from conception, scripting, filming, editing, post-production, release. And through his work on large-scale rerun projects, he's honed his skill for brand imaging and the importance it plays in building a successful company. Naomi started her career in the agency life, specializing in public affairs and crisis management. And now she's become Suez's group's youngest ever department head. Well, she became in 2009. She's a sustainability communications expert. She's been instrumental in numerous achievements over her 13 years at Suez. Without further ado, please take it away, both.
Thank you so much, Dom. Yes, sadly, I don't think I can hold the sort of accolade for youngest head anymore. But yes, I was once upon a time. But yeah, absolutely delighted to be back at commsHERO Week. It's always a huge highlight of the year. I always love commsHERO Week and really chuffed to be asked back for a third time. I'm really pleased to be here with Sam. Sam, works in my team. He is an absolute expert in visual content and we're really, really lucky to have him. So hopefully everyone's going to learn a lot from kind of Sam today. Both Sam and I love kind of talking to people and connecting with people. So we've got our Twitter handles and our LinkedIn handles up there. Please do link up with us and kind of, chat to us kind of throughout the event and tag us because we both really enjoy getting to kind of know other people. And I'm aware that we're going to have a lot of different people kind of on, joining us today. Some of you will already be visual content specialists looking to kind of move things up to next level. Some people will be starting out and some in between. So whatever stage you're at, we're really hoping that you guys will find something in what we've got to chat about today. So yeah, throw your minds back, guys, to a time when we weren't on Teams video calls every day. And, we were all a bit camera shy. But, visual content has been on the rise for quite a few years. But there's no doubt that the COVID times have kind of sped things up. Videography, photography, and the way we communicate and use it's become our norm. And it's become, something that is absolutely integral now to communications. But, we want to help you with, how do you get started or move things up? How do you make sure that your sort of visual content is part of your comms and corporate affairs strategy and not just a tag on? And how do you really produce those impactful sort of, content that you can really resonate with audiences? That's what we want to really talk about today. But, before we get onto that, we really want to know where you guys are at. So we've got a couple of poll questions. And a poll should be springing up at any moment from the kind of the commsHERO team. But what we kind of want to know, guys, so please kind of vote using this poll here. Where are you at with your visual content needs? Do you have somebody or even a team in-house who is dedicated to visual content? Do you outsource it to external specialists? C, do you have a combination of both, or D, none of the above? So if you can't find it, there's an actual kind of poll sort of option at the toolbar at the top of the kind of chat function. So you'll kind of see the three little lines. That's your kind of poll option. So kind of please vote now. So I'm going to just give everyone a couple of seconds to kind of to vote on where you're at. Is it A, B, C, or D for you? And I think Sam is going to help me keep an eye on the kind of the poll numbers coming in, and that should kind of spring up those answers for us in a second. But this will really help us to understand where you guys are at. Excellent. So I don't know if Dom or Kate, we've got the results of that. Okay, I can't. Sam, can you see the results of that coming in?
I'm afraid I can't see either, actually. I only have the screen presentation.
No worries, I can't see the results of the poll, but 20 votes for C, says Kate. Okay, so most people have a combination. That's really, really helpful for Sam and I. Thank you. A combination of in-house and outsourced. So next poll question, Sam. What's your greatest challenge when it comes to visual content? Is it recruiting the right skill set, be that within in-house team or getting the right specialists from outside? Is it, sorry, I'm just pulling the poll up because I just can't see the bottom of it. Is it recruitment? Is it recruiting people with a visual content expertise? Is it budget? Is it trying to get that elusive money to properly kind of fund visual content? Or is it getting people internally to understand the importance of visual content? Are you working in a team where people just go, make me a video, or do people really understand the process and kind of what's kind of involved and going from an audience angle? So A, B, C, or D? So let's give everyone a couple of seconds to vote there. And I think we're just kind of waiting to see 55% for D. Ooh, so it's actually getting stakeholder understanding, Sam. So yes, I think we've all kind of been there. We definitely understand that. Yeah. So D seems to be the one that resonates the most. I mean, as we just said, so, that's been really helpful. So thank you guys for kind of answering our quick poll questions. Videography and video content and photography are now kind of so important to us all. Did you guys know that if you have video content, which you produce internally or externally, that is 12 times more likely to be shared than content with just photography or text alone? So kind of we know it's growing hugely in importance. So next slide, please, Sam. For those of you that don't know Suez, we are a recycling and resource management company. And we are a very operational company with 4,000 of our employees out and about, not in front of computers, doing very operational roles. So for us, sort of visual content became very, very important kind of quite a few years ago, because it was a really important means of communicating with employees who come from very different backgrounds, where there's sort of language barriers, and they're not kind of often in one place. And getting something impactful that kind of resonates with them quickly was very, very important. And that's before you even get on to our external stakeholders and our various different groups. So we were doing a lot of visual content, and we just found that it was just increasing importance. We were doing more and more of it, and we were spending a lot of money on it externally. And we thought there must be a kind of way to sort of do this better. Luckily, we already had Sam in the team. Now, Sam has a videography background and studied videography, but he was in a different comms role at the time. But Sam said, you know what, I can do a bit of this, and started dabbling in it a bit. And we thought, maybe this is the way to go. So in 2017, Sam actually took on a pure visual content role in the company. That has become such a worthwhile thing for us that we kind of expanded that team and recruited a second person a couple of years ago. But we found the key thing that really gave us was that internal knowledge as well as visual content expertise. There are lots of amazing people out there. We still work with a couple of external visual content partners, who do amazing work. But what Sam and his team have been able to kind of do for us is to not only have that visual content expertise, but the industry and company expertise as well, and really understanding our employee groups and what our industry is about. That has been really, really critical for us. So next slide, please, Sam. So how did we start out, and how would we recommend that you guys start out when it comes to kind of visual content? I think something that is really, really important to Sam and I, and something we would say is the absolute critical starting point, is making sure that visual content is a really, really key part and an integrated part of your comms or corporate affairs strategy. It can't be standalone, and you can't be sort of looking at it in isolation. It's got to be really, really fully integrated. And that's because visual content, like any content, has to be based on audience needs. So you need to look at what your objectives are as a department, but more importantly, who are your audiences and how are you trying to reach them, and what resonates with them. And if you find that visual content is important to your audience, what form does that take in? So for example, if you're trying to do a sales campaign for a predominantly Gen Z audience, then really all you need is a good quality camera and your social media platforms. If you're trying to do a tutorial video, which might need to be kind of slower paced, which might need to be a bit longer, sit on a very different platform, you might have very different equipment and platform needs for that. So it's really looking at your audiences and their needs and what resonates with them, and that will help to inform the type of visual content you need to focus on, and very critically then the budget. So once you've made sure it's key part of your strategy, come at it from an audience perspective, done your research on this audience and inform your budgets, that's isn't it, where you can move on to the next stages.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Naomi. Those 3 points of when you're first starting out, doing your research, understanding your audience, who you're making videos for, what kind of videos you will be making, that and your budgets and your strategy are all very, very kind of interlinked, and that will lead on to then essentially your next decision of equipment, where you go down on the equipment route, really, like what you're going to need. When we first started out, we kind of went in with quite a basic kind of equipment list, which was sort of like a mid-range mirrorless camera with a one decent zoom lens. Don't go crazy on your lenses at first, because chances are you're only going to end up using the one. Good microphone equipment like your shotgun mics, lav mics, a good 3-point lighting setup, a very a nice sturdy tripod, SD cards, batteries, leads, clamps, brackets, filters. There is a lot of equipment you can get when you first start out, and the chances are you'll buy things, and then for the next few months you'll be realizing, actually, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, I need this to help with this. So again, linking in with the research, knowing what you can spend will kind of help you guide on your equipment needs. One of the most important things is to design your process, I think, when you first start out. And what I mean by that is essentially in what order you do things. So when you kind of have the idea or the conception of a video or a photography campaign or anything, you kind of go through the same stages. So for us, you have the conception, you then put together a brief, you put together a script, your storyboards, you arrange your logistics for the actual day, organizing of your equipment, the actual filming itself, any admin, so your consent forms, call sheets, schedule, moving on to your editing, post-production, and then release. After release, a lot of us here will measure the analytics of a video, of how it's landed, what the viewing figures are, engagement, things like that. And lastly, your archiving as well. So designing your process and knowing it and sticking to it is really important. And learning to film on your phone, I put this in as, I think it's such a key kind of thing to do, especially if you're in that stage where you're not too sure of whether you're going to invest in equipment, whether you're going to make it a role, because I think we all have these amazing little devices in our pockets, which we all have access to, and you can really achieve a lot and get a lot out of them. So I'm going to spend the next kind of few minutes just talking about specifically what you can do on your phone to kind of upgrade your visual content at the moment. Also, that is me in the picture, just pointing out, but I've kind of moved my hair from my chin area to my head area since then. So that was a couple of months ago. So just a few tips, or a bit of guidance really on phone filming. This is my crib sheet that I send around to people if I need someone to film something for me, if it's someone else who's asked for advice, if I can't go to a location, I'll send them this. And a lot of this is just kind of film and photography basics, based around light and sound and framing and things. But if you follow these tips, you'll be surprised at how many people don't follow these, who will, go and stand in front of a bright window or in the noisiest place possible. By following these, very simple tips, you can really improve stuff that you are filming on a phone. So, by making sure you're well lit, standing in a quiet place, shooting in landscape unless you're told otherwise. Having grid lines on will really help. If you can put grid lines on your mobile phone, you can also put them on a DSLR as well, but it really helps you with composition, especially if you're new to kind of film and photography. Stabilizing your shots with a tripod or a gimbal, or leaning on anything, making sure your background environment looks good, not having too much jerky, shaky movement, not zooming, especially on a phone, to the point where it's pixelated, making sure that you're tapping on something to put it into focus, and also, if you're filming on a phone, put your phone on airplane mode, because it will avoid any disruptions, and it's not going to disturb you midway through. A little bit about I think mobile phones and filming on them it's a very accessible way for people to take part in capturing video and photography, and also having very basic equipment that is affordable will really up your game as well. So These are, yesterday's prices of just some equipment I got off Amazon, which total £135, which are all, it's a very cheap setup. Now this gear is pretty entry level. Some of it, I would buy, like the mic, a Rode mic, I would buy, but the rest of it, it's entry level. It's not the best you can get, but it's not the cheapest as well. And, for quite a small sum of money, these things are really going to improve what you can do and what you might already have access to if you have the phone. So we're just going to play a short little video, actually, Kate or Dom, just as an example of kind of stuff we have filmed on a phone and kind of what we can do with it. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I had to turn my microphone and camera back on for a second there. Let me just share that again, guys. Go back to my presentation, 2 secs. Yeah, so that was just a very short, let me just full screen that, 2 seconds. There we go. Yeah, just a very short video, which was, that I wasn't actually using any of those kind of little bits of equipment that I showed you previously. The only thing I was using was a gimbal. So you'll notice there was a lot of movement in the shots, a lot of different angles. So there was some close-ups, some wide shots, utilizing the time-lapse feature. So these are all things just inbuilt into that camera phone, which you can kind of, use, without much additional help. I'm just going to show you a few apps, again, just sticking on the phone side of things at the moment. So that little video that was put together using GoPro Quick, which is one of my favorite apps to use for kind of churning out quick content. So that video we just showed you was filmed, edited, and then on social media within the same day. Using that app, it's a very simple select, drop it into this app, it churns you out an auto edit, and then you are then left to pick music, the theme, trim certain clips, put in any text you might want. But it really does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, which we love it, we use it all the time. If I'm using my phone, if I need to do an edit from fresh, I would use iMovie on my iPhone. Sorry, I don't use Android. Very biased. Get that out of the way now. But there are Android apps available, like InShot is quite a good one. But I would stick to an iPhone if you can. Filmic Pro basically allows you to take all those, manual, basically everything you've got on a phone. It lets you do it manually. So on an iPhone or any phone, you can control your ISO, your shutter speed, your focus, your color balance. So it's more advanced end of things. So, once you practice with your native camera app, if you're looking to then just move things up a little notch with what you can do in camera, use Filmic Pro because it is an amazing app, which we'll have access to. Teleprompter app kind of does what it says on the tin. It's probably the best teleprompter app I have found, as opposed to going out and getting camera and an actual teleprompter. That's something that's very accessible and we use it a lot as well. Adobe Rush is, the Adobe package is obviously amazing. If you're a content creator, you probably know this already. But Rush, it kind of gives you access to things that Filmic Pro does as well, but it's a bit simpler to use. So it will give you that manual control over cameras as well. So shutter speed, focus, things like that. But you can also use it as a camera app. So, it gives you that control just over the camera feature as well as video. And it's free to use on phones and desktops as well. So it's a great app. And then Photoshop and Lightroom are, they're paid for subscriptions, but for editing on the go, they're amazing apps to have on your phone and also, computers as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about kind of impactful content and how to make things more impactful. So I think the first thing, obviously, you need to really think about is the purpose. And this kind of goes back to the process that I mentioned earlier of, doing things in a certain order, of getting your concept, doing your brief, scripting, storyboarding and stuff. So your purpose would come at that very first stage of concept and briefing. So it's hard to make, I think, an impactful video and track the success of it if you don't really know what the purpose of the video is and what you're aiming to do, who's it for, things like that. I think in our world, a lot of the videos and comms we do can be quite reactive. But I think even if you do get a reactive video, you get a request for video or photography, still sit down and go about that process in the same way and work out what your purpose is, because I think that kind of hones your whole package of content you're delivering. Makes your messaging better. You can target audiences better, and will also give you a clearer call to action. Storytelling, I think, is a real key thing in having impactful content. Try and tell a story with a story arc. So have a beginning, a middle, and end of what's happening in your content. This will keep people engaged, whether it's an article or a video. It even works with photography. So this kind of image here I've used on the left is of one of our longest serving employees. We used it with a intranet article at the time, and it was our most opened article in terms of hit rate of the year. And I think people are just drawn in through that one simple photo, and that photo itself kind of tells a story of, here's this man in the workshop. He's our longest serving employee. We had a huge open rate of people wanting to read about him and know the story, and that kind of, people like people stories. So I think that's very key in kind of having an impactful content, something that people can kind of empathize with and something that resonates with them. The quality of your content makes it more impactful. So essentially, the better your video looks and sounds, the better it will be received. The better your photography is, the better it will be received. If you have an interview and it's darkly lit, the audio isn't great, there's noise going on in the background, it's going to be a bit of a turn off for people straight away. So quality is a huge thing in making impactful content. And obviously the length of content as well. I think being in comms and marketers and stuff, it's been driven into us over a long time that length, you have to do a 2-minute video, you have to do a 3-minute video. And the reality is that that's kind of not the case anymore. I think research from the past 2 years, our video habits have really changed. So we're watching a lot more video content, and we're actually watching longer content as well. So I'm not talking about TikTok and Instagram where you're just mindlessly scrolling away. This is more, when you're on a platform like YouTube or Vimeo, or you're on a website where there's video content hosted, we are actually watching longer content, more regularly. And I think as long as it's engaging with the audience, every part of that video or article or whatever is telling a story, people are gonna stay and read it or take part in it. We're just going to show you another video now, which we got some really good feedback from being quite an impactful piece. It is very short. It's got some really good quality footage and stuff, and the storytelling is done more through wording than any voiceover or anything. So, Kate, if we could play the second video, please. Awesome, thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I can see some emojis flying around, so I'm hoping that's a good sign. We are obviously overrunning a little bit, so I'm going to try and rattle through these last ones a little bit quicker so we can get some questions and stuff in as well. So let me just share my screen and go back to that presentation. 2 secs. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about, a little bit about, we've kind of covered about, basic things you can do, utilizing phones, kind of working on your impactful content and things. And I think when you're then getting in a position of, are you going to take things to the next level? Are you going to kind of upgrade in certain areas? I think just these are the things you need to consider, really. So I think it's considering your time and cost implications. Like if you're making stuff, how long is it taking you? How much resources is it taking away from your day job if that's not already your role? Do you have the time and resources to be creating your own content? Do you have the budget to outsource? Do you have the budget to create a role? What kind of quality do you want to end up with? Because if you have someone solely doing this, or you're solely outsourcing, you are going to end up with better quality than, I think those of us who are kind of dabbling in a little bit of everything. So I think by taking things to the next level, you are going to have to make that decision almost at some point, depending on what your needs are. If you're finding that you are happy to kind of do videos occasionally, you've worked out how you can do them on your equipment or on your phone, and you're utilizing the kit, and it's good for you, good for your audience, that's fine. But if you kind of want to take things to the next level, you're going to have to put in budget and resources at some point. And I think going back to research again, really, once you know what you're making, who you're making it for, how it's kind of getting traction, what you want to do, go back to the research stage again. What equipment are you going to get? What's going to work for you? What are your needs? What mics do you need? What lenses do you need? All those sorts of things. And then lastly, I think, investing in training at this point, if you haven't done so already, I think there is, an endless amount we can learn online through YouTube tutorials or Skillshare. Adobe has great free packages of using that software and stuff like that as well. There's so much we can learn online, but I think doing some training, especially in person, is super helpful as well, to have that kind of networking and be working with peers where you can actually talk about videography or cinematography or cameras or whatever, talking about how you actually go around things, I think is key. You can't buy experience as well, so that is something that you either have to build up or you have to train in. So I think that is definitely key to taking things to the next level, because even if you kind of go out and you've bought a £5,000 camera, if you don't know how to use it properly because you haven't had the training or the experience, it's going to be useless. It might as well be a £500 camera. So just in comparison to that kind of slide earlier on the mobile phone stuff, this, when we first started out, we had a £5,000 budget for equipment, which doesn't get you as much as you think. This stuff is expensive. And we bought a few little bits along the way as well, like a drone, a gimbal, a couple of new lenses, things like that. So all in all, we've probably spent about £8,000 or so, I think, since I started, and even that is not a great deal. That's still on the kind of lower end of things as to what some people would kind of spend on this gear. But that kind of ballpark figure is what you're going to have to kind of take into consideration as if you are going to upgrade. And that's not even talking about going to cinema grade cameras and stuff like that. That's a little bit further down the line and probably past my pay grade as well. And also just factor in that you will need to upgrade some things at certain points. You will break things. You need to replace things. Make sure you have insurance. You will have yearly subscriptions as well for things like Adobe, stock websites and things as well. So just factor all this in as to when you are wanting to make that jump as well. It will come with a higher price tag. How am I doing for time? Overrunning a little bit, so I'm just going to rattle through these. So my quick kind of top tips and do's and don'ts. So do watch videos, steal ideas, see how people are filming things, see how they're editing them. I think it's once you kind of get into that mindset of a videographer or a photographer or whatever, you start seeing like videos and films or photos, and you then put yourself in the position of whoever took them and think about the lighting setup, the audio setup and stuff. So I think watching videos is a great way to actually think about how that has been created. Obviously practice with your equipment. You don't want to be turning up to set or to a shoot and you haven't practiced setting up your gimbal or your your auto cue on your tripod or whatever. So practice with it. Don't look like a mug on the day, as I'm sure I have done several times. Have a tick list of kind of what you're taking and when. Make sure that you are taking the right batteries, that they're charged, that you've got SD cards or memory cards with enough space for what you're doing. Get that ready the night before. Have a tick list to make sure you've got it, and also you're not taking heavy equipment that you don't need. Probably this is the most important thing actually is for me is when you're doing interviews, spend time making people feel comfortable, because not many people feel comfortable in front of a camera. So even if you have a very short time slot, like a 10-minute, 5 minutes time slot, maybe just turn the camera on and spend the first couple of questions you're asking is, what did you have for breakfast? How was your day? Where did you come from? Stuff like that. So just put people at ease. And like, if someone is comfortable in front of a camera, the interview is going to be infinitely better than if you just kind of rushed in and gone straight in with the hard hitting questions. And do film in high resolution. So if it's on your phone, film in 4K. If it's on a camera, film in a higher resolution as you can, because that will give you more options in the edit afterwards. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think, as I said, a lot of my learnings come from making mistakes, doing things wrong, and then thinking, I'm not going to do that again because that wasted time. Or, I think it's learning on the job experience essentially. So don't beat yourself up if you do make mistakes. Don't rely on post-processing too much. So if you are somewhere taking a photo and you think it's a little bit dark in here, don't take it and think, I'm going to edit that afterwards to make it brighter, because that will degrade the quality. So literally turn on another light or play with your camera settings, try and get it right in camera first time. Don't prioritize image over audio, I think is a easy mistake to make when you're kind of starting out. Image, video is easier to recover or make look better than bad audio. Bad audio is pretty unforgivable, and if you look at sort of statistics of where people would turn off in a video, if there is bad audio, people are gone almost instantly. Or if it's image, you're able to recover that, blend it with something, edit it some way to kind of retrieve that. And don't, as I've kind of banged on about quite a lot already, is how great a resource your phone is. We all have them in our pockets. You're essentially walking around with a professional video camera that also sends text, and you can make phone calls from a lot of the time now, especially on the newer phones. So yeah, lastly, just don't underestimate the power of your phone and what it can do. I hope I haven't rattled through those too quickly. We are at the end. I hope that's been useful. And I think we're just going to go to some questions now, Naomi and Dom.
You're actually bang on time, Sam. So you're absolutely perfect. There's a lot of emoji love going as you were speaking, which was really amazing conversations in the chat as well. So
really interesting presentation. I now want to go out and start shooting with my phone. Great. We have got quite a few questions, so I will just kick things off. And firstly, it's from Geffen Evans, who wants to know Sam and Naomi's views on repeating images and videos to span a gap during construction development projects while new images are available, while very few new images are available.
Sam, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, repeating images and videos to span a gap during construction.
So I think repeating images, Sam. So is it okay to use the same image twice in a video if you've not got a lot of footage or not got a lot of content to put in?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think you can do so very simple things with the same clips of footage or photos and stuff like that, and make them more entertaining, make them look different and stuff. I don't think that matters at all. I mean, how many documentaries have we all seen where they've managed to turn a 5-minute story into an hour-long documentary of simply replaying certain bits, recapping and what have you? And I think it's more just it goes to that storytelling aspect, I think. So if you are midway through a project and you don't have maybe the footage or the images that you want, I think it's more how you package them and how you edit them and kind of the story you're telling around it. So yeah, I definitely would reuse stuff.
Yeah, we definitely do it, don't we, Sam? I would say no more than twice, and try not to do it with every image. but yeah, as Sam said, it's as long as your story and your content over the top is working well for you.
Amazing. And we also got a question from Will Allen. I think you kind of alluded this to your second last slide, but about making people feel comfortable. But are there any good ways to get those who are quite camera shy to chill, as Will says?
Honestly, it's just spending time with people. I find, I've filmed with like hundreds of people, within our company and other projects and stuff. And you're always going to get people that are more confident, more nervous than others who have done it before, people that haven't done it before. you know, I quite like just turning, like, I won't even tell people sometimes when I'm actually, what parts I'll use. So sometimes I'll just record and I'll say to them, rather, we'll just record this chat, as opposed to these are my questions, and, you know, and sort of doing it that. Also, never, I know some people really want questions ahead of time so they can prepare. But personally, I think it's a lot more natural if you don't do that. If you just, you know, treat it more like a conversation, you know, don't provide questions ahead of time, because then people start to put points together. They try to memorize things, and then they kind of tie themselves in knots of trying to remember certain things or get certain keywords in and stuff like that. But yeah, putting people at ease, I'd just say spend a bit of time with people before you're doing an interview. Have a coffee with them, reassure them. You know, everything I do, I always tell people it's completely informal. If you want to do something again, we can do it 10 times if you need. You know, I'm here all day. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I think it's just, you know, especially with more nervous people, just try and put them at ease and be as friendly and accommodating as you can, really. Yeah.
I would say, like, having watched Sam do a lot of videos for people of varying degrees of experience and a lot of nervous people, I think one thing that you do, Sam, that I've always really loved, is, you do it with me as well, is you go, right, well, you know, we can do this as many times as you need. So, you know, if you're not happy with the first one, you can do it again. So, you know, I'll just start filming. Let's just kind of do a run through and see how it goes. And more often than not, that's actually a lot of the footage that Sam will use. But people feel like, oh, okay, this is kind of just a run through. I can do this again if I'm not happy with it. So they relax.
Yeah,
so I would say that's something I've seen Sam do quite a lot.
Absolutely, and like, I think filming should be something that's fun as well. You know, I enjoy doing it. I know everyone doesn't like taking part in it, but you know, it doesn't have to be this scary thing. It should be something that can be made fun as well. So, yeah.
Wicked. We got another quick question from Adam Driver, who just says, really, the subtitles, how do you do it?
Depends. Like, I actually really like just uploading onto YouTube as a platform, because the subtitles have really come on in recent years. I know a lot of the councils that we work with, you know, if I'm making content for them, they want subtitles embedded onto a video. So if that's the request, I'll embed or I'll put subtitles. They're burnt onto the video, so they can't be taken off. It kind of really depends on where it sits as well. You know, if someone's a platform is on their I don't know, on the TV or website or whatever, it's offline. You can burn like an SR or attach an SRT file, which can be toggled on and off to that video, depending on whether people want it on or not. As I say, I think I really like just having it on a platform like YouTube, which automates your captions and subtitles, which you can then go back into and correct yourself anyway if they're not 100% right, because I know with things like accents or whatever, they're not always spot on. But I think with something like YouTube, you then have it automates everything, takes the hard work out of it for you, and you can then tweak it yourself. There's other good bits of software, like, I don't know, there's this platform called Otter AI, which you upload a video into and it will subtitle everything yourself. So especially if you've got a very long video, like a 20-minute video, something like that, you can upload it into there. It will give you an SRT file, which you can then either attach, you can burn on yourself. And, you know, Adobe's Premiere Pro's built-in caption and subtitling software is really good now as well, probably just as good. So, yeah, I mean, I think us and a lot of other people verge on the side of just having captions on automatically now, because it's more accessible for everyone. But you do have the options of having them on or off if you need. But I think the kind of standard now is just to have captions on.
Cool, amazing. So Sarah Dakin asked a really interesting question, which is, do you think that there's a risk people could go the other way? Video is everywhere, and is fatigue setting in, the impact being lessened?
I don't know, Sam, what do you think? I think there is a risk, and that's why it's important to do the planning and the kind of audience work. I think, you know, you can tell when a video is being thrown together and when it's being put together with the audience in mind and with the proper planning. So I would say there is the risk, but as long as you do the steps that we've discussed properly, making sure it's very much based on what your audience wants and it is the channel that's going to resonate with them, then you're all right. I don't know what you think, Sam.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, I suppose key to that is understanding your audience. I suppose there is, you know, we're watching so much more video now than we were a couple of years ago. I think it's like 52% more than 2 years ago, which a lot of that is kind of through COVID. So there is, I suppose, a point it could swing back the other way at some point. But I think if you understand your audience, know what they like, I think people are always going to like video and go to video, because I think it just transmits so much more information and you can communicate so much better through it as a medium. So I think it's always going to be there. And I think I didn't really talk about this in the presentation, but just also having like authentic messaging that is kind of like true to, you know, you and your brand or whatever you're doing is again something that I think if you stick to that, people will like it, they will engage with it, and I think it'll always be their video.
Great. Well, we've got time for probably just one quick question, and that's going to be from Jules Loveland, and she just quickly asks, could we use can the audience use your phone filming guidance if they're able to credit you?
Yes, but you have to pay me. No, it's fine. Yeah, we can. You can absolutely have that, because I've actually looked like so many times. I've been on Google and I've been like phone filming crib sheet and stuff like that, and you never get something that has everything you want in it. So I just built that one myself because it's everything I tell people and I would want in it. So yeah, 100%. If you screenshot it, absolutely use it. You don't even have to credit me, to be honest with you. You can just have it, or I can send it to people in the chat if I'm able to do that. I don't know if I can, but yes, absolutely, please use it.
And Sam, we've got loads more questions. Perhaps if you and I dedicate to getting back to people with direct messages, because there's so many great questions. But Dom, what we'll do is we'll direct message people and answer their questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. You can message people through the platform. So there are a few more questions. By all means, drop them a message. But thank you again, Sam and Naomi, for a really, really interesting presentation. We will be resuming in only a few minutes at 11:45. Thank you again, and see you soon.
Thanks, Dom. Thank you. Cheers.